Thank you, Mark. Over to you, Jeff. You've already been introduced this morning, so it's your turn.
So how many of you think I'm on the wrong team? Well, to be honest, so did I. But being having a little bit of an academic background, I would like to remind you what the motion is before this House, and it's that cost recovery is dead. That's a different issue to whether cost recovery is stupid, whether you like it, whether it can be improved, or whether it should be dead. It's a different issue. And it's also vitally important in my mind to differentiate between the effects of cost recovery and other issues, the ones we've discussed here in many conferences before, institutional issues, governance, most importantly performance management, the level of costs, how the costs are allocated, and charging policies. All of those things are a mix here, and guess what? We're blaming everything on cost recovery because everybody's hiding behind cost recovery. The thing for me is, before you make any change, identify the issues that need to be changed and improved. And there are lots of those things that I've just spoken about that can be addressed perfectly well within the cost recovery, within a cost recovery system. It depends on how you define cost recovery system. And my good friend Dieter cunningly changed the question by saying at the end of his presentation that traditional cost recovery is dead. Well, I could vote for that. I'm saying to you, though, that cost recovery as such is not dead. The reason for that is, quite frankly, that many of the ills that are blamed on cost recovery system can be addressed through other means. We can put in performance-based measures and run ANSPs like businesses. We can control costs. They don't have to go up. And by the way, I don't think you'd find many airlines recognizing that they've had a good run when traffic growth is going up, because all that means is there's more money to be spent. It doesn't actually come back to the airlines. So for us, the issues are, you've had a very good presentation from Eamon on why this is good for ANSPs. Do we want to let you guys out of that cage and go and make profit as well? You know, look at the stories that we have with some of our airports that have been privatized and are off that leash. So for me, the issue is you've got to correct all of the other ills first, the institutional structures, governments, performance management, and what really matters is effective economic regulation. And another reason that cost recovery is not dead is because we have yet to find the appropriate means of driving performance and regulating performance as well as regulating cost. And many ANSPs here, you heard my speech this morning, are simply not mature enough to move out of cost recovery anyway and have the sort of measures in place. So, you know, that's where we are. On the question of financing, stabilization, they are also issues that can be addressed. And by the way, airlines, with respect to our good friends in NAV Canada, are slightly different. Airlines don't want stabilization funds because all that means is you're holding onto our money that we need right now. It's a big cash flow issue. Airlines are not happy with fluctuations in charges, but we'd rather experience those fluctuations than have you sitting on our money for a rainy day. So finally from me, back to the motion, is cost recovery dead? From our point of view, absolutely not. It's outdated, suboptimal, time limited, and should be dead. But right now, it's the least worst option until we can find better ways of driving performance in ANSPs and regulating in an effective way. Thank you.
Well, I must say some very persuasive arguments being made by the four speakers up front here. Now it's over to you, question period. No doubt you've been taking copious notes and you've got some questions, perhaps some reflections. Remember what we heard this morning? We have to show that we think. Yes, there's Christophe Bobin, first question.
Do you think it works? Yes.
It
One
works.
always has to break the ice. I was sitting here and I was a little bit disturbed because I did not know frankly speaking, who was pleading for word, because I mean, listening to Eamon, it was not only funny, but all his arguments pro cost recovery system, I think in a way is I understood at least, where pro cost recovery system is dead already, or because it was a little bit ironic. But my question is, and Jeff, in the last part you mentioned it, I think the whole thing stays and falls with the abilities of an economic regulator. And whatever it is, be it cost recovery or be it, in my eyes, better because performance and incentive-driven system, without a very good and very competent economic regulator, nothing will work in the direction of improvement of efficiency. And maybe you at the panel could exchange as well your thoughts. How do you expect that competent economic regulation can be expected, and how it can be supported that it will come? Thank you.
Very good question. Shall we turn it to the team A for rebuttal, or?
Yeah, perhaps I can say something, because we are moving to a performance scheme based on a regulatory framework. So we have this kind of discussion with the airlines already. First of all, it's good that we have this discussion with the airlines, which shows that it's not a decision we have to make on our side. We are already discussing with the airlines in France. And of course, we have made some proposal for designing a regulator. But of course, you have to design something which is excellent. But is it necessary to have something excellent to move? You have to think about the pedagogy of the new scheme towards our own staff is something perhaps very, very important to consider. Because to think differently of what Eamon has described it, that you just, when you need to invest, you put it in the charges. When you need to increase the salary, you just put it in the charges. No, we have to think exactly on the other side. We have a certain level of revenue. One can do it with this revenue, how to use it in the best way, how to get more performance to be able to use it in the better way, in the best way it is possible. Mm. So this is true that to design an independent regulator is something difficult, to put the right level of pressure so that we get more performance, but we still have a very high level of safety. We can still invest. It's something which is not easy. But to have the airlines around the table to discuss this, and together perhaps with the unions, this is also something we are doing now in the ACNA. We have a commission of strategy together with the airline representatives and the unions. And I have to say that it's very, very pedagogic. It's very useful to have around the same table the representatives of the airlines and the union to speak about the future, the strategy, the performance. So I can see already a lot of benefits, only because we have decided to move away to the new system. And the issue of what is the right regulator is a secondary question for me. Mm-hmm.